Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. It is I, your captain, Straw Hat Lucas, back to discuss what I can only describe as one of the best chapters of the year so far. We've said that so many times since the end of Egghead, and it just keeps being proven true. So, like, some insane reveals, and I'm really excited to discuss it today here with my crew. Speaking of, let's go around and introduce the crew. We'll start with the first mate of the Eternal Dawn, Mr. Kube of the Red Sea. How we doing today, Kube?
Hey man, I'm very excited. Oh, sorry. I'm very excited. Sorry, it's the cold of ELBAF that got to me. So I'm very excited. It's a crazy chapter. W's for the group, obviously, for another chapter, but I won't lie, it gives me vibes of original One Piece adventure-esque type of beginning of an arc, which is pretty cool. Where there's no agenda and they just go with the flow, they follow the wind, and trouble follows them wherever they go. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. It feels like Little Garden or Skypiea or something like that. It's that grand sense of adventure right now as we get into the beginnings of the ELBAF arc. Next up, we have the head cook of the Eternal Dawn. It is Mr. vexyz, the lurking legend himself. How are we doing today, Vex?
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Straw Hat, NoChillDill, vexyz of the Red Sea, but y'all just call me Vex. I'm super happy to be here. Really hyped to get into a peak chapter. Not gonna lie, I have not been vibing super hard with like some of the chapters we have had since Egghead. Not as much as I thought I would for like a post arc, but we're here, baby. We are at peak. This has been one of my favorites for a while. So yeah, super hyped.
And deafened at the moment, we do have the frontline combatant and vice captain of the Eternal Dawn, Mr. NoChillDill, here with us as well. He will be joining us here in a little bit, as well as the musician of the crew, Joshua Vykthor. Yeah, I agree, Cody. We should definitely be stealing Vex's identity. I'm going after his real name now. No.
Also, Cody, if you have not read the chapter, go on and get, brother. I don't remember like if you've checked it out or not, but we are gonna get into like 11:30's like spoilers for sure. If you haven't checked it out.
Yeah. If anyone in the chat has not read the chapter, now is the time to roll out. Because we are about to get started. What the hell was that?
Fun fact, you guys are laughing, but we had to do the same thing on the spoiler stream on Wednesday with Dexter and Kuso, who both hopped in on the spoiler stream. Very funny that we said the same sentence, me and Bill.
I got a shout out to real fast. The person that is the heart and soul of the entire Eternal Dawn, Miss 3-Day Trip, who is joining us in the chat today. That is the navigator of the crew. We love you, 3-Day. It's always good to see you around. Feel free to jump in if you are so inclined throughout the stream.
Dill came in hot.
Yeah, Dill came in hot.
Yeah, I had to. I heard you mention me on the stream, and I had just gotten back and outside to my car. So.
Well, drive safe, brother. We're gonna be here cooking for a while, so definitely can't wait to hear your takes. But yeah, like
I get to throw some of the spoilers at y'all.
I'm sure they were wild this week. I'm not a spoilers person myself, but I know y'all did a stream earlier in the week. Yeah, this was a wild chapter. This was insane, and I think we finally confirmed that we are in fact in ELBAF, right?
Yeah, 100% confirmed. We got the info box and everything.
Yeah, like, huge,
insanely huge, man. Do you want to jump right to that? I mean, it is a pretty big moment. I don't mind, but yeah,
but it's been speculative for like a couple chapters now, but this is like this is like Oda was trying to pull the wool over our eyes, and like I said, I wasn't so hype about like whatever was going on in the whole Legoland stuff, and like when we saw the design of like this the air quotes sun god, and then we found out it was Roto. I don't know, I was like, yo, this is a hype design, and then finding out it was Roto was like really like a letdown for me, but vibing hard with it. Like, this is so peak, man.
Yeah. I agree.
And I won't lie, I'm very happy that, especially with the Loki part, he actually clarified the whole, Warland and ELBAF type of situation with the way he phrased it, which, gives a better context of the environment.
Yeah. Since we're hopping straight to the end of the chapter, as we usually do, what did you guys think about the reveal of the world tree?
It was beautiful. I literally one of my favorite moments in all of One Piece now. Like, it was just breathtaking, especially like since I had been talking for so long about the way that ELBAF would be structured after those first few chapters. It was really, really nice to see it, and I think Oda knocked it out of the park with the design.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oda had previously gone on record and said that 3 of his favorite like panels to draw were like the flower capitals zoom out in Wano, when we first get to see like when the curtains like part and we see like the full flower capital in its like majesty. And then I think he also said the Nika dance back in Skypiea when they're having like a feast after everything, and also Water 7 as like a full zoom out. So he loves the details of like the really like gorgeous settings. I feel like this probably crept into his top 3. I don't know Oda personally, despite my theories being so accurate so often, but I think this is probably in the running, right? Like for like one of the best like zoom out like scenic shots, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that.
I won't lie, it's especially since I've been reading around Little Garden Drum Island. I do like the Drum Island similarities. It's really the same vibe when we first met during Broggen when they showed Little Garden.
Yeah.
The scenery and big of the whole greenery of the place, which is cool.
It's just magnificent, man. There's so many like just little details. The giant sword, which I know a lot of people are speculating will be pulled out to commit Ragnarok and everything, which we'll get into theory crafting here in a bit. Like the castle on the 2nd level, the mountains that surround the bottom, the rainbow
the
bridge looking
waterfalls,
thing,
the cannons, like
Yeah.
it's
And
all sick, dude.
if you look, you can see where we're at too at the bottom there. So like, we haven't even begun to see what ELBAF is truly like. If I'm honest, this is probably like, we've all been waiting for this for so long as a community. I know a lot of people have been waiting for it much, 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 much longer than I have. But just to be here, unreal. It is a surreal feeling to actually see ELBAF in proper.
I mean, to be honest, I think I've been waiting for ELBAF since 2003 or 2004. So yeah. It's been a long time.
Way longer than me.
Yeah, way longer than me.
This is something that has come about since the chapter has come out, and we haven't really touched on it. Have you guys seen the memes of the world tree yet?
I have not.
Oh, so we got one right towards the start of it being the raws coming out of someone had face swapped and put Green Bull's face on it. And then I saw one earlier of Pizarro's face, and it was like if Pizarro gained control over ELBAF.
It's crazy.
I won't lie, I did see one yesterday on the TikTok. They did some edit, and they put the Flamingo's glasses on that last panel of Loki because of the tongue coming out.
Yeah.
And the smell.
I'm not gonna lie. There's other characters that have a long tongue like that. Pause. But the fact that even the spoilers were like, yeah, it's kind of like Doflamingos, and I'm like, there's so many other people you could use as the basis for them having a long tongue. Again,
I think
pause.
there's several layers of parallels though that people were trying to pull with Doffy, like the fact that we don't see his eyes. And the fact that he has allegedly offed his father. So, I mean, like, I think it's like, I mean, so we're kind of dancing around the subject, but like, yeah, Loki officially confirmed, right? Like, his design,
Yes, sir.
the actual Loki in the flesh. Luffy gets the full splendor, and this was a sick paneling. This design is so cool, and
Luffy
it leaves
standing in front of him, like Jesus.
Yeah, there's
Christ,
so many
bro.
questions to like. This chapter is so so great to leave off on we've got like a double break week up and coming. We'll get through it together, fam, as a community.
Yeah.
But this
Yes,
is
we
such
will.
a great chapter to leave off on for that.
I agree. One thing I noticed about Loki's design is specifically his left horn having that bandage around it. Something about that reminds me of Chopper. Chopper also had his left horn broken like that and taped up like that.
Well,
and, there's something about it. So that may be hinting at his fruit being his own, in my opinion, which a lot of people are speculating right now.
I think it'll be more. I think there's something even more with that because there's a lot of people who are wounded on that side, and I think that's also the side of Kaido's horn that was going to get hit. And if you look at the Egghead panel, when Luffy sees for the first time the Iron Giant, it's a very similar scene with that horn being damaged and being, in that position.
Yeah.
So I do think there is something. There's nothing weird about that specific side of the head being damaged. It's the same side of the head that Whitebeard lost as well.
That's what I was going to bring up, Cube, is that's the same side that Whitebeard lost during Marineford.
Yeah, King versus Zoro. That was when Zoro landed the first meaningful hit. Was when he took off that on the left side of King's mask, and then obviously all of the left eye, scar connections that
Shout out
are
Lisa
all
left
throughout
eye.
the story. Okay, crazy.
Hey, don't go chasing waterfalls now, Vex. Okay.
We're not doing this right now, Lucas. But
I don't want no scrubs.
So, any other major thoughts on Loki that y'all want to address right now? Because I do want to talk about the legendary devil fruit as well. This is huge.
This is something that I'm not really too sure of there being much buy-in for it, but the Loki that's a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is themed Loki variant 1130, and this chapter was chapter 1130.
Yeah, I saw that going around. Was there confirmation on that? Because everything I saw, Loki's number in that is 19999, but that's the main Loki, not the Loki from the Loki TV series.
Yeah, well, I'm referring to the one from the TV series, but I don't know if there's a discrepancy between the two. I just know that as they were looking at his file, it said variant 1130.
That's pretty cool, actually. The Oda, like I said it in VC the other day, Oda's a fan of the MCU, so I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't pull from some of their take on Norse mythology as well. Two things I noticed about Loki, though, Vex, to answer your question, immediately is one, he has I said Aztec yesterday mistakenly, but Aztec-like designs for his tattoo. That is not Norse. That is very much in line with an Aztec style design of a bird, which is interesting to me. Or not, I just did it again. Mayan design of the board, those old
Mesoamerican,
Mesoamerican,
yeah. So
exactly.
I can kind of, it reminded me of what we saw in Shandora. And then also what we saw approaching, there's the stone arches around the entrance to Reverse Mountain, what we saw. So I think that's really interesting to think about as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing I noticed, have you guys noticed the crown on his belt is the exact same one in his silhouette?
Yeah.
It's the tri-point crown?
Yeah, it's the tri-point crown with a skull. So maybe that's a symbol of him. I think that the Lola incident was kind of one of the inciting incidents of him going over the deep end. You won't love me, then I'm going to take out my dad.
You had that one bad day,
exactly.
Like a classic Batman villain, yeah.
I mean, so even more so to what Lucas was saying, it's not just no love and I'll take out my dad. It's the no love, there's no place on this world for me, because he's wanting to bring about the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that there's something more to that. Go ahead, Cube. Sorry, but
I was just gonna say
something else real quick.
When it comes to the tattoo, if you take King's tattoo on his face plus the style that Loki has, it's a one-on-one on the symbols of the tattoo, the Shandorans. I did check it out before. They have the mixture of similar to Loki, but also like King, that is like a plant. You can see it in Viper, his full tattoo, which I find very interesting.
I just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. I was looking for something that I was talking about last night in VC with some goats. We're talking about Loki. Oh my goodness. It's gonna keep bothering me. But
while you look for it, I might have found a real life inspiration for Loki. Because of the nickname, and obviously, you connect back to the actual Loki, but there was an actual Slavic king who also killed a member of his family, and who was basically never really recognized, and they tried to get rid of him. I think they put him into prison. He escaped, and he was actually legitimized by a future king of Russia, the guy who started the Romanov family, and he's the specific Russian ruler who fought up against the Swedish Empire, which now means Swedish, so it's quite interesting. And he's called the Cursed Prince.
Weren't you also bringing up during the spoiler stream how King Harald was the last Viking king?
Yeah. His father. The name of the father is the last Viking king of Norway.
Yeah.
Isn't King Harald?
So yeah, I remember what I was gonna bring up is like, so do you guys think that there's a potentiality that like what he said is maybe being taken out of context to a degree? Like when we were first introduced to Madame Shiarly, and she foresaw the destruction of Fishman Island being brought by Luffy, we all as a community have just like kind of, everybody is pretty much on the boat that that's going to be something that is for the good by destroying the red line and stuff like that. So it's like, it seems menacing when it's first presented, but there's like another meaning to it. And so like, do we think that potentially Loki is on that same kind of vibe where it's like, yeah, he's saying that I want to bring about the destruction of the world, but it's actually something that will lead to more benefit than detriment. Listen, right?
I don't know what it is. Something in my stomach, we could call it an intuition or something like that. I think Loki might join the crew momentarily. Because I think you're right, Vex. I think whatever he's supposed to do is going to be a necessity like the Flood. If not the crew, he'll join the Grand Fleet with his brother Hajirdan. Like, there's something about the way he's positioned and the way Luffy is looking at him in this chapter, because that is one thing that Luffy is very good at, is he can look at somebody and tell their intent, how they are as a person. And the way he's looking at him is not the way he's ever looked at an enemy.
So I don't know about I need more for Grand Fleet and crew member or Grand Fleet, because it has to be special type of connection. But I see what you mean, and I've always said that is everything is, the truth is in the eye of the beholder. You know what I mean, and the intention. Like Blackbeard and Luffy might be doing the same thing, but for different reasons. That's why we might get by Luffy doing it, but not Blackbeard. So it kind of makes you think of, I want to know where his motivation comes from. You know what I mean? Because that's the real question. Because you're right. He's saying, "I'm the sun god who will bring the end of the world." What world is he talking about? Is he talking about the Celestial Dragon?
The motivation is Lola choosing Gotti over Prince Loki. I'm telling you.
Lola didn't choose Gotti until way later, though. But something.
Just to finish my sentence is, this is the interesting thing of we keep hearing the thing of same thing with Crocodile becoming the ruler of this new world, stuff like that. So it's like, I think it's start to get deeper and deeper on the what people mean. Like there are different meanings when people refer to the world. You know what I mean? Maybe the world that is right now, or a world that hasn't happened yet. That hasn't come to be.
I think it could be smaller than that to a degree as well, because like I was cooking over in Daxake's server. We were all on VC. I was there with Knack, who's in the chat. Kuso Land Theories was there. Dex was there. A whole bunch of goats from the community were there. But something that Dak brought up is that, and I don't want to say too much because it's not my idea, and I believe he's going to cook on it more elaborately, but there's the potential that he's talking about the world tree and not the world as a whole.
That's what I'm thinking right now as well, actually. I think he's meant to bring back about Ragnarok, the death of ELBAF proper, like how we see it right now. And I don't think it'll necessarily be a bad thing either. Like, I think there's potential that once he brings down that tree, that it's like, oh man, this tree was actually going to destroy the island in this many years. He saved us all, kind of thing. I think it'll be a necessity, just like the Flood will be. A microcosm for what's to come.
I mean, if you think about it, we know that in Wano, if you destroy the borders. It's basically AKA releasing Pluton, right? I'm not saying Uranus is hidden there, or another thing, but they could be that. And
Uranus.
if you know the stories of the Digital Tree, is that Odin does leave his bird there, and Luffy, a crow, which Luffy grew up literally in Mount Colombo, which means crow. So it's like, what if there's, the tree is blocking something, something that was hidden. Loki doesn't know about it, but he has, like a sixth sense where he just knows he has to do it. He just doesn't know why.
Yeah. And like
So
I
yeah,
said,
that could be interesting.
it could be that it's an order from his father that no one else knows. You know what I mean? Like, one of Loki's like key traits in any depiction of him is that he's a very misunderstood character. Everything he does is for chaos from the outside eye, but inwardly it's really for the benefit of mankind as a whole. It's like the devil in. I'm just saying, it's like the devil in Christian mythology. Like, yes, what he did was terrible, and it got us kicked out of the Garden of Eden. But at the same time, he gave us knowledge and the knowledge of free will. Like,
I think it's also
that
telling
double-edged sword.
that, like, Oda showing us, like, I'm so pressed to believe that this is like somebody who's going to be set up as a big bad, because it's literally like basically our first like footsteps into the arc proper. Chill. Our first footsteps into the arc proper. Luffy just like instantly meets this guy and is face to face with him. So like the arc is gonna be taking off so fast if this is like I feel like there's more to it, and Oda wouldn't just immediately set up a main antagonist like that, like quite like we saw like Kaido straight in like as soon as we got to Wano, right? And Luffy got one tapped, and that setup of spoilers if you haven't seen Wano, guys, but that set up like a lot of future events and stuff. I don't know if he's gonna play that same trick, right now, or if there's just a little bit more depth to this character than what we've been given,
Yeah.
So when we were reading the spoilers the other day, I had read them live, like in progress, and one of the things that I came up with before we got like the reveal of Luffy standing in front of Loki is, as soon as he went to go down there and go meet with him, we had the exposition given of like, oh well, he's been locked up and this is the reason for it. Here's all the bad that he did and all this. And then I was like, yo, Luffy might just be the one to free Loki.
I think he is. I think 100% he is.
Because it's like Luffy goes down and sees someone essentially suffering and for lack of a better term, like in shackles directly, like not just metaphorically, like, oh, they're chained to this belief or they're chained to all this. They're literally chained up. And then we get he's ashamed of ELBAF. Luffy doesn't see it from that aspect. Luffy sees, hey, this person is in trouble and needs someone to save them.
Yeah, a main core thing that Luffy like tries to champion is people's freedoms and stuff. And so if it's going to be really interesting to see how this interaction plays out, and if Luffy does just immediately set this person free. I think it's also really funny. We were memeing about it kind of yesterday. Like the first thing this guy says, I'm the sun god who's gonna yada yada yada. Like the rest is kind of unimportant, because I feel like Luffy's gonna like check out as soon as he hears I'm the sun god. He's like, yeah, I've heard that before, because he just had that interaction with Roto. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious.
And I won't lie, there's a lot of similar themes with, especially with Rayleigh and Sabaody with Loki. And especially when you think of the return arc, is where Luffy deals with a fake person that that is supposed to be him. So, but it's quite interesting. And I won't lie, the Bifrost or the Rainbow, what most likely that's the one thing that's getting really me interesting, because now it's no more it's no more what's called suspicions of is there a Bifrost or not. Seems to be Oda showing us that there is, which is cool.
See, that's what we were joking about, that being the bridge that they were on, like that leads to the castle, is because it goes from a higher realm to a lower realm, and that's what the Bifrost was. It's just a gateway between the different realms of the world tree.
Yeah.
I think it might tie into somebody's power. Like they spoke of a legendary devil fruit, which I'm itching to talk about. But like obviously that means that the nation as a whole knows about devil fruits in general. So I think that we can assume that there's a couple more than just that one in play, and that we'll see throughout the full term of this arc, right?
Yeah.
Like Wano didn't even know about him, and we still saw some in Wano, like the little tanuki in a teapot, and then like Raizo, Shinobu, and Kinemon and stuff like that. So like I'm assuming we're gonna see not just that one devil fruit, but like a few, and there might be somebody who has the ability to like control that rainbow bridge, like if that's what it is, which I think would be sick as a power. Like not quite like a Kizaru, like a Logia, but like a Paramecia that's like the lesser version of Soch or something. I think that would be really, really cool. And I just want to see a lot more devil fruits. That's one of my favorite things about like getting caught up with One Piece and stuff like that. Like it's so cool when we got like the Blackbeard crew reveal and like got to see all of their devil fruits and stuff. That was awesome. And I want to see more of that, and hopefully like some more like items that have devil fruits in them.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's not at all tied to the fact that I put that on my bingo card. Not at all.
Bingo piece.
Bruh. But yeah, there's so much with Loki, and like I'm not a like a Norse mythology buff, but like people have been kind of like running a lot of things across like in the discussions that we've had since the scans came out and stuff like that. I've been hearing a lot of people like the Will of Dreams in the chat. He was spitting. Knack has also spit a couple of great theories about how many different potential parallels there could be. But with Oda, we know he likes to kind of put his own like spin, and it's not just like parallels, but also inversions to these types of things. I saw Dila Joyboy put in the chat earlier something about like taking your own eyes for wisdom was a thing that Odin did in Norse mythology, and like I could see that easily coming into play here as well in some form or another, like a parallel or an inversion. Whichever way Oda goes with it, I'm so hyped though. This is such a cool design, and like I said earlier, I wasn't really feeling Legoland too much, but I'm so hyped now, seeing what we've just seen.
Yeah, this is a point I think I brought it to Vex yesterday, but did you guys didn't hear it? I said the fact that he's shackled up, and if the people who shackled him up, the people of ELBAF, is also the people who put the blindfold on his eyes, and the fact he's came to be the sun god, I've always said like, what if there's a reason of keeping his height hidden, his eyes hidden, like them keeping his eyes open would be just letting him almost like unshackled, like separate himself from the sun or for some reason.
Yeah. Well, he's also under that, like the branches and that cloud cover as well.
Exactly.
So like, who knows if he's even getting like sunlight or moonlight, wherever he's at, because he's down below. Like we saw how thick the trees were as well, like, while they were crossing that bridge. So it's interesting to think about like all of the reasons as to why he could be there. And in Norse mythology, if I recall correctly, like wasn't like Loki shackled up before Ragnarok ended up happening in the first place?
Yeah, he was unleashed, and that is what caused the beginning of Ragnarok. Sword is the one that's stabbed into the one that I brought up earlier. It bears striking similarities to the sword that is pulled out by Satyr, I think is his name.
Surtur.
Surtur, my bad. But used to destroy Asgard.
Yeah. It's also what it could be known as the beginnings of Ragnarok as well. Like there's a lot of different things that attribute to the beginning of Ragnarok, but it all culminates down to one person, and it is the trickster god putting all of them into motion. Because Fenrir is attributed to Ragnarok. The Jormungandr is attributed to Ragnarok.
Well, Jormungandr's death is a trigger to Ragnarok, right? So that may be a hint that once the red line falls is when ELBAF will also have to fall. Maybe they'll have to make a giant ship out of Yggdrasil.
I know you know the lore. Who's Jormungandr's parent?
It's also Loki, isn't it?
Yep. Jormungandr was birthed from Loki, because Loki has both genders. For those who know it he
also
has the
birthed a
blood of the ice
six-legged
giant
horse.
as well as the blood of the god Odin. He is Odin's son with an ice giant that it sets him apart from Thor, who is just full-blooded. But Loki himself that's part of the reason why he was kind of conscripted to be the one to start Ragnarok, is because the ice giants lost the war, which is why the nine realms were built on their corpses and
Yeah, we got some
gave
goats
the
in chat
room
today.
they built the room for the world to be built up. And the fact that he was one of their descendants was why he was able to cause the fall of those worlds. Is because he was essentially the second coming of the ice giants.
Yeah. So let's get into the devil fruit then. What mythical zone type? Because when I first read it, right, I will clarify this for the audience. When I first read it off the TCB scans, I did not assume that he had taken the devil fruit completely, and I thought maybe it's the gum gum fruit. But from what the homie Kuso Land, hey, who literally just jumped in chat, let's go, hey Kuso, said he reads the Rawls in Japanese. Kush Daddy in chat too, dude. Brandon King, so many goats today. But Kuso reads the Rawls, right? And he said that it basically states that
I have
he
the
ate the
direct
devil fruit as well.
translation if you want me to read it.
Yes,
I'm
please.
staring at it right now. We were cooking in VC last night, like I said, and he was so gracious to send what he had translated it, which was he wanted the legendary devil fruit passed down in the royal family of ELBAF. So he unalived his father Harold, the king, and ate it. And the word specifically is I'm gonna like absolutely butcher this pronunciation, but it's like a kuyagata, which can be like used to say he ate it in a manly way, or like he devoured it according to Google Translate. So it does more or less say in the Raws that he has consumed the devil fruit and is currently in possession of these powers. Where it was left a little bit more ambiguous in the TCBs, which is interesting.
Yeah. I won't lie. I do see the mythical zone thing, but this would explain why Durin Bragi, who saw Luffy fight in Little Garden, saw a lot of the features of his abilities, only recognized him as a sun god because of his bounty picture where they see his Gear 5 transformation.
Yeah.
So I do think there is something in the way he transforms that can loosely in Legends be very similar to the transformation of Nika. It might not be the same form, but like he becomes all white type of a situation, you know? His hair,
Yeah.
you know. So that's why I do feel like it's definitely mythical zone. I won't lie. I did think of what if we had it wrong. The whole, you know, people predicting that Fenrir of ELBAF will be Blackbeard. The way he's talking at the end kind of gives me the sense there's at least a Fenrir inspiration for his devil fruit or his character. You know, being chained up.
I do.
You know.
I do think that it'll have something to do with Norse mythology. Specifically, I think it'll have something to do with Ragnarok as well. But I do agree also with Kushaddy in the chat is that I would like it to not be a zone.
I think
mythical zone is what we're going to aim towards, but
yeah, if it were a mythical zone, I would be fine with like there's things that Oda has set up that like he hasn't fully like completed the cycle of, like the 4 auspicious beasts in Japanese and Chinese mythos, the guardians of like Kyoto and the cardinal directions and whatnot. There was the Seiryu, the azure dragon we already saw, which was Kaido's fruit, but we haven't seen the Suzaku, which is the vermilion bird, or the Genbu, which is a black tortoise with a snake tail, or the Byako, which is like a white tiger. And I would be cool with some of those. Or since we've seen allegedly like a sun god fruit, like if we saw like the forest god or the you know, this like there's several different like things that I think could fit, but I don't know if we need that in the story, you know.
Yeah.
So there is with that in mind, you know, and I do believe that whatever that fruit is, there is going to be some form of what's called Loki inspiration, and it's something that was dropped during the Sporter stream. now I can talk about it, is basically, I don't know who it was, but basically at one point in a little garden, I think it's Dory, when he's showing his resolve of what is to be a fighter to Luffy, he makes a broad statement and says, this is the will of the people of ELBAF, the will of the god of war. And the fact that it's a legendary fruit of ELBAF, and he is referring to ELBAF being they say it is the birthplace of war. I'm wondering if like the legendary fruit might be considered, what is the god of war fruit, and he ate it because he did say it's the birthplace of war, and it was foreshadowed in a little garden where he made that speech Dory, and then he talked at the end by, this is the will of the god of war, like it's a title or some sort.
Coach Daddy in the chat said, if it's a mythical zone, I don't want it to be a Norse mythology. I want something unique to One Piece, like Nika. And that would be actually very interesting if it was a war god that was unique to One Piece. Can somebody... Kusaland has joined us on stream, y'all. He said that he is suppressed and cannot talk or something. Can someone fix him up a bit? Yeah.
I will look at that in just a second.
Yeah, we got Kuso.
I didn't even realize he was here, right? Yeah.
I'll fix it up, no problem. Give me a second.
Yeah, man. Emu heard Kuso saying, I'm gonna give some actual translations, and then what happened? Emu just said, you're gonna be muted, bro. You're gonna get a Zunisha treatment. Oda
came in and said, hold up, wait a minute.
Yeah, man.
We can't have him leaking all the facts.
Yeah, we can't have him leaking all the facts.
And Dila Joyboy, my bro, in the chat did say something which I will like it, regardless of what it is. I think the elemental that needs to connect to must be related to fire. I do agree with the whole sun god thing. I would say something that's close to the fire element. I don't want something obscure like a water fruit. You know what I mean?
That water fruit could work though.
Yeah, it's just I want something believable. Like, how can they because I do believe the giants are naive, but to believe that. Now I want to see like what are the big discrepancies. So I do want to see some. I mean, like there is something where because of legends, it's very easy to confuse. But when you start to know more stuff, oh yeah, that's not the fruit. Because don't forget, we have like the full scale information from the Gorsei, so we could consider that most people don't know as much as us when it comes to the Nika fruit.
Yeah.
Man.
It was the fact that it was like described as passed down through generations, and then the world government knowingly trying to hunt down the gum fruit for so long, as it was called. That's what made me kind of think like maybe this is the Nika fruit that Loki was supposed to inherit.
I'm working on it. Yo, you should be able to speak now.
I can.
Hey, yeah, you can. What's up?
He said I choose not to. Welcome to Land Theories. How you doing, brother?
Good. Okay. Thanks for having me. Just woke up, drinking some matcha, same old thing. Let's go.
Uh-oh.
I've liked a
audio
lot
just
of
cut out for
what
stream
I've
for a
heard
second.
in the community. A lot of people are thinking.
Sorry, I fucked it up.
Kuso's the cursed creator. He's the
cursed
creator.
the cursed creator. That's crazy.
Are we back?
Yeah, we should be good now.
That's so good. Can everyone hear us?
Yes.
Brandon said crickets.
Yeah, we're good.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of what I've been hearing has been pretty spicy. I like the Kush Daddy was pushing that it would be like just a straight sun fruit. A lot of people were thinking like atoms, I think is what Brandon King was saying, or like I've heard someone say plasma. I've heard a few different like ideas for different logia and or paramecia. and obviously mythical Zoans are like kind of put up on a pedestal. So I feel like that's something that's a viable option, but I don't know. Again, I don't know if we need that.
So, I mean, we've had a lot of Zoan-based stuff recently, right? We've had it with Kaido, and then in Egghead, we didn't necessarily have Zoans per se, but like the girls say are based on animals anyway, right?
Yeah.
And then we also had
Yes.
Lucci there as well. So it does feel like we've had a lot of it. Whether that means that Oda's just going to keep pushing the Zoan agenda, I don't know. But we have also seen the Rhodes pets / guardians, right? And they were all animals. It was also Chopper that was also taken by and captured and separated from the rest of the crew, right? So I feel like animals do feel like a theme that's going to be pretty big. We've seen the giant wolves that are under the forest. So I assume Fenrir could possibly play into it. We've also seen that Loki has the wing tattoos, which might tie into some sort of winged Zoan user. And then not only that, we've also seen that with Harudin's ship, the figurehead is the figurehead that Road used, right? Sorry, the head that he used to represent the sun god, right? And this is coming from a man who did the 1-to-1 model of ELBAF in the first place. So I'm assuming that his dress up of the sun god is also pretty on point, right?
Hey, Kuso,
And not
I just
only
wanted
that,
to say,
we've also
real quick, your pronunciation of Haruden, solid.
I'm sorry.
Really great.
Oh, is it actually? I thought it was really bad.
No, I'm just memeing, but no, I definitely like a lot of these ideas. It's just how there has to be some way of Oda tying them all back to the moniker, the sun god.
The sun god, which is why I like the plasma one actually. Actually, before we go to that, if we look at the master of the pirate ship, we've actually got the dragon already. Right?
I want to add something what Kuso said, because that's I did zoom in because I found it very interesting, because it did look similar, and I looked back yesterday at the manga panels and in the anime, the way his hair curls up this way, the only people who have hair in that level of that curly and that fluffiness is the minks when they go Sulong. Beppo's ones is very similar. It does almost the same type of curls to that, and very fluffy as well, just like his hair. The hair in the back. Yeah. Sorry. Wanted to add that.
No, I like that. Okay. Well, the other thing is plasma, right? I think that would be pretty cool. Like, put up it on me. Right?
That would be insane. Yeah.
And the reason why that would also be interesting as well, though, is Pura is short for plastic in Japanese, like purastiku. But then also for plasma, like purasma, right? But not only that, the sun is literally a plasma, right? That's the form that it actually takes. But on top of that, we've got the Yggdrasil, which is a giant tree, which might produce resin, which you can make plastic out of.
Ooh.
And then
so we have
also
a resin type fruit to blend in with it.
Well, he could. I think he could either turn things into plastic, or use the resin from Yggdrasil and then using plasma to create plastic. I think there's the two potential options. But not only that, because we're in ELBAF, right? Which I mean, I've got the Christmas piece video where I talk about everything as being Christmas themed. Well, we've got the winter solstice here, and so this is basically the home of the celebration of Christmas. So plastic toys would actually be really fitting in this world.
And it's quite interesting because, I've always said that if there's an island that would be the reversal of just the island itself of ELBAF would be Sabaody. And, interesting enough, they explain the whole ecosystem based off resin. Of all things. So yeah, I do think the resin thing is quite interesting. Didn't think of it.
Everyone in chat saying resin piece will never die.
Resin piece.
Let's go. It's so funny.
Fun. That was the most funniest time when everyone believed that Luffy had the resin. Sorry.
The most thought-provoking part about it is like obviously Oda's gonna like either reveal it to us right away or kind of like play it off like it could be anything for a while as far as what the actual devil fruit power is. And I'm expecting for our expectations to be subverted. I think it would be really funny if it was just a normal paramecia. And like, and they're like, oh, it's the legendary power of like, and like, it's just something like really chill, and I think that'd be funny. But like the biggest aspect of it to me is like, how are they passing it down? I was asking in Dak's reaction, his live stream yesterday. Loki's birth is something that was shown to us more or less while the Big Mom flashback was going on. So we know that Mother Caramel was still around, and like whenever she spawned Pandora and Big Mom took out Joe Rule or whatever, like that was literally like within a week of Loki being born. He's 63 years old, was born as a cursed prince and stuff like that. So there's like obvious parallels that I kind of think could be pretty safe to speculate on with the way that Big Mom got Mother Caramel's fruit and the way that these individuals could potentially be getting their fruit from like keeping it in the family, like and passing it down specifically, like if there's some sort of like aspect of that, or if they are just privy to how devil fruits reincarnate, which is information that we have only seen small little aspects of, like with what happened in Punk Hazard. And there's clear Punk Hazard parallels with the frozen landscape here. There's parallels to Impel Down with like the snow wolves, and there's parallels to Thriller Bark with the giant chained up and stuff like that, and Frozen, like what we saw with Oars. There's parallels all around, but I think that this could be one of the hugest bits of information we get, because we did not get as much concrete information off of Devil Fruits as we thought we might get in Egghead from Vegapunk. But I think this is something we might actually start to understand more here in this arc, is how devil fruits are reincarnated.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good, actually.
It makes total sense. Yeah.
And there is a similar theme, it's just done differently. You have that with the Flamingo and Orochi, and I'm sure there are more storylines like that where they're corrupted and giving a devil fruit, and then they go after either their father, who is a ruler, or Oroshi's case, the ruler, through deceit. And it's quite interesting in the way they write it is they unalive the father to get the fruit. If there's a similar theme, just in a different way. So I do feel like whatever happened, there was most likely a manipulation on Loki around that time. It could be interesting, What if someone was, whispering, just like for Roshi and the Flamingo, which we don't know more, but it could be for more other characters, villainous characters who have a devil fruit,
I do agree, because we always get these like innocent kids that kind of get like messed up by these corrupted parents or adults,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
We had it with Doflamingo, obviously. With
Roshi as well.
Yeah.
So it's like
well,
it's quite interesting.
With Loki's birth being so close to the events with Big Mom, it makes me wonder if his birth and then all of that happening made people think that he was like a bad omen being born, and like that's why all of those things happened to them on that festival and everything, is because this second prince, this accursed child, was born.
Which do you think that's why he went to the dark side as well, and maybe he even placed like practices
definitely.
like
If you're
dark
told
magic or something?
Yeah, if you're told from birth that you're an accursed kid, like that's gonna affect you psychologically.
I think it's really convenient as well that like as soon as Pandora was birthed and spawned from this like fire that could not be controlled, and what did they immediately revere it as but a sun god? The sun god was born the same week that Loki was. So maybe he is just going off of that bit of context and not knowing the full story, and that's why he's clinging to the moniker, like I am the sun god who will bring about the, because he heard that Pandora was spawned by the mountain witch like literally the same week that he was. He just kind of like assumed he was one and the same.
Yeah, and like I said, also
go ahead, Kube.
The real life cursed prince that I found, that Slavic king, was interesting on why he's named that way. It's not the fact that they're suspicious of him getting rid of his brother for the throne, but they don't describe it, but apparently the manner in which the brother was taken out, that's what gave him the moniker. It was so evil. So I'm wondering if, and actually Lucas is here, who's a big Star Wars fan, and it kind of makes me think of Luke Skywalker sensing something out of Kylo Ren and out of reflex takes out his lightsabers, and then he thinks
Yeah.
that he's trying to wipe him out. Like, I'm wondering if, because it's the giants, like it's not just like it could. I think yesterday we were talking about childbirth. What if his mom was died giving birth to him and those kind of stuff. But what if it's more than that? Like they sent something like Kaido and Big Mom. Whether they said they were born like national born disasters, they're just born powerful. So it could be something like they sent something and they just acted on it. They
Maybe
feared
they
what he would
have.
become.
Well, maybe they have a fortune teller like Charlie does. Like these ancient races, the fishmen, the giants. They believe in a wider belief system than humans do because they're getting more towards a modern era. So maybe they also have like a soothsayer, and the soothsayer was like, this child will bring Ragnarok. This child will do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it
with
instantly
Vex.
turns the people away from. Hold on 1 second. I was wanting to point this out. 3A in the chat said, "What if he has some kind of like fable fruit that allows him to bring stories to life?" And that's just amazing.
So fun.
That would
Yeah,
so
that would
fun.
be so fun. That'd be insane. Such an overpowered devil fruit. It would make sense why every giant warrior in ELBAF had to stop him if that was the case.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vex was the one who went deeper on that point yesterday on Dax's VC, but we were talking about the timing of Mother Caramel, and like, what if she instilled some false notion of something, and they fell into the trap because they're so naive. I think it was you, Vex, right, who brought it up yesterday, or no?
Yeah, I brought up a lot yesterday, but I definitely did talk about that for sure.
Yeah, which I found very interesting because we saw Mother Caramel also has the drip of a gypsy in a way, in some senses. When we see images of old gypsies, gypsies were also considered to be fortune tellers, but sometimes it was like a double-edged sword. You never knew if it was going to be a curse or a gift.
I think that's considered a slur now.
What?
That word.
Okay, so another thing that is really notable with the Mother Caramel.
For that's why
it doesn't matter. We're moving on. But so another thing that is really, really interesting as far as tying connections with Mother Caramel and Loki potentially is like she possessed the soul fruit, and soul, SOUL, obviously refers to like the soul, the 21 grams, like the thing that makes you and whatnot. But there's also like soul as in like solar,
SOL.
which would refer to like shit out of luck. But the thing that refers to the sun. And so I think that's also like a really cool like play on words with on Oda's part, if that is intentional. That could be fully tinfoil, like a coincidence, but
Japanese
I think it is
also either toru or so, I think. So if you combine the two ways to say Thor in Japanese, it would be Soru as well.
It's really interesting. I'm super hyped to see like, cause like there was also like a bit of like, wasn't it Mother Caramel was accepted by the people of ELBAF because she prevented some giants from being enslaved, and so like the her potentially having sun god like ties to and stuff like that, and like Nika being the sun god and like the warrior of liberation, but like obviously she had a fully different prerogative, but she was presenting as somebody who could fit the bill. And so like I think the Will of Dreams said it earlier, like giants are always getting like tricked and stuff like that in like different like mythologies and things like that. It could be really interesting. And even tying to what 3 Days said about the fable thing, or like I like the Uso no mi. I think that would be hilarious. And it's a direct tie to Usopp, who we know has been one of the biggest ELBAF, like, he's like, I want to go to there. And for the longest time, he has had the closest ties to giants of all of the Straw Hats.
He's got a way of rallying them and using the truth to do it as well. He doesn't have to lie to talk to giants. He can just talk almost on equal footing with them, and that's why he has such high reverence for them as well. I'm sorry, I love Usopp's relationship with the giants. It's something I've looked at time and time again, and I'm really excited to see where it goes in this. And I think him being God Usopp and probably already being considered a false god, but also named a god by the brother of Prince Loki, Mr. Hyruden. It's just Hyruden, yes. I think that Usopp and Loki are going to have some really deep ties. I know that was kind of off topic, but someone mentioned Usopp, and I was like, fuck yeah, it's time to spit on my boy.
He's got to swing for his boy. Yeah.
I am curious about Hiruden as well, obviously because giants often come in pairings, right? We've got Oyama and Kashi, we've had Dora and Broggy, we've had the Yeti Cool brothers, we've also
Yarul
had
and Yorul.
Yarul and Yorul, exactly. And so and now we have Loki and Hiruden, who are they going to rule together eventually? Is it going to be some sort of peace, or are they just going to be like Game of Thrones, two factions, and they're going to battle it out because it's Warland?
Well, it makes me feel like maybe he was supposed to rule the new Giant Warrior Pirates as well, like because they don't have a second captain like the old Giant Warrior Pirates. It maybe Loki was that second captain at one point in time.
Yeah, for sure. That totally makes sense, right? And
Also,
so maybe
did Loki forget about Hiruden when he was a toy?
Oh wow.
Oh
That's
yeah,
actually crazy
Would
to think
have.
about. Oh my goodness.
Would
He
have.
was
Yeah.
just tied to that wall and all of a sudden remembered that he had a brother that betrayed him. That man was probably in so much anguish in that moment.
Bro's like, I am the sole son of Loki. I
Mhm.
killed my father. And then 20 minutes later, I have a brother.
What a soap opera that would have been if we saw that. That's crazy because yeah, like we haven't really seen like any like full ripples from like what Sugar's ability could have done. And like at first when you said that, Lucas, I was like, oh my god, that would have been potentially when he had to, but they said it was a few years back that he had to be bound and restrained, and it took all of the warriors combined to. And so like, and Dressrosa was like what, like 2 months ago or something in the actual timeline of the show or of the manga.
Yeah, and I don't think he was turned into a toy for that long that, there would be enough, storyline for him to still act on it, But it's an interesting point because remember what happened to Usopp when Robin was forgotten, all of his development from Annie's lobby just disappeared. It was around the same time that he had that moment of cowardness.
Of whatness?
Cowardness. Remember
Cowardness.
Robin, around the same time that Usopp was fearing and didn't want to do anything in Dressrosa, is around the same time that Robin was forgotten. If you remember, all of his character development happened between Water 7 and his lobby. Doesn't happen if Robin is he doesn't know about Robin. The point that's interesting.
I thought you said carrotness.
I heard carrotness too. That's why I was confused.
What if plot twist?
I was
What
like,
if
Bushido?
Loki didn't forget about his brother though?
Ooh, yeah, like because if you have
he's a
strong
mad
enough
king.
hockey,
Yeah, like
well, if like we've seen, like if you have strong enough hockey, it can negate certain devil fruit effects. Like, so maybe that is something that is potential. That's huge, actually, because like we assume this dude's probably like a hockey beast, right?
Yeah,
he might be like built
100%,
different,
100%.
like Big Mom, Kaido, Odin. Some of these people like are just like absolute beasts from the age of like 3 or 5 or something like that. Like just full absolute units that are like this is one of them, right? This is the guy.
I mean, there is in Dressrosa. I mean, if he had something of his brother, it would not make him forget it. Best example is we saw Rebecca, even though she forgot her own father. We saw that weird connection he had with that statue every time she walked by, like there was a representation. So it could be the same thing if Loki had something, of his brother. He might not know that, but he still connects to it to some extent. Just doesn't know why.
Who put me in these chains? Oh yeah, I have a brother. He did this.
That's another interesting thing though. We were talking about Loki and the devil fruit, and something that when I was watching Kev DOG react yesterday, he brought up and spent a little bit of time discussing was with Hiruden. When we first saw him in the Koraida Coliseum, he was stating that he wanted to get claim the Mera and become strong and become king of the giants. And he also mentioned that like, have you ever seen a giant with a Logia? And I'm like, the way that I see that is it's like there's two lines of thinking there. Is that like maybe he's saying that he wants to get this Logia to one up Loki, and so like that could tell us potentially that whatever Loki has is lesser. Hiruden.
Oh yeah, dude, I forgot about that.
The entire point of the Koraida Coliseum arc was because the Mera, a Logia, was up for grabs. So like him saying that he was going for that Mara, he's just like, have you ever seen a giant with a Logia? And so this could be taken
Ooh,
two
that's
ways, and it could
spicy,
either
dude.
be that he wanted to one up his brother and have a superior devil fruit, or he wanted to catch up to his brother and have a comparable devil fruit. So
Yeah.
that's like, I don't think it really like sways me either way. I just think it's interesting
That's
because
awesome.
we've only seen so much from Hyrule, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We
And
about to
also,
see a
fun
lot
fact,
more.
If you think about it, Loki has a brother in the actual mythos, Thor. If I'm not mistaken, that was one of NL's attack, who's a Logia user. as
Elthor,
well.
yeah.
Skepian. So it's quite interesting. So yeah, I never thought about it. I was always on the mythical zone thing, but the Logia front, even for Loki, could be interesting.
Loki the Logia, I'm in.
Like, could it be a ding fruit? Like electricity fruit?
It could
That'd
be
be
the
crazy.
spark fruit. It could be anything, in that regards. It could be
Or like a
interesting.
charge fruit, like
I mean, that would like to some extent that would explain a bit because I won't lie to you guys, the way that his eyes lit up in the last panel, so the bandage was quite interesting.
It lit
Yeah, I
up.
thought that too. Yeah, you can see
Yeah,
him briefly like lighting up.
Yeah, you can see the form of his eyelids underneath the bandage if you actually zoom in.
Guys-
Isn't that just because the bandage is thin, so you can just see the shape of the eyes, or is that not?
It could be that,
It
but it
looks
does
like a
look
glow.
lighting up a little bit. Yeah, it looks like a
Yeah,
little. I'll
it-
share it in chat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he
it's
also
a
got
little
really
ambiguous.
way excited when he was talking
yeah,
at that
it
moment.
definitely looks like a bit of a glow though.
Yeah.
Which
No,
I
I'm
think
curious.
I'd be.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's so little that we have to go off of, but
I mean,
I'm loving.
Road will
like,
be a bit of a
It's such a
twist,
good time. Yeah, that's what I was also gonna bring up. But it's such a good time to be like in the theory
Mhm.
game, because this is a fun one for sure. But like you said with Road, he
Yeah,
obviously
that's
he as well as Goldberg were born like the same
My
week
boy.
that Loki was,
My boy
and
Goldberg.
it's really interesting to think because whenever Goldberg and Gerd were interacting before at the beginning of the chapter, they said something like, "Oh, she said that he is like more shameful than even Loki," and we know that Loki is referred to as the shame of ELBAF. But then Goldberg claps back with like, "Oh, he wouldn't even mind you saying that," which makes me believe he's a big fan of, and he was literally cosplaying as the sun god,
exactly
like in his with his little figurines and stuff like that. So he is obviously somebody who like is like more aligned with what Loki is all about. So it could and him having the animal skull over his head could maybe lead towards a mythical Zoan of some sorts or something like that. But also, like you were saying with plasma and plastic, that could also be. So there's so many different lines to pull from.
I mean, what you brought up is interesting as well. Like with the fact that Road and Goldberg, they were also born at the same time as Loki, right? So not Goldberg. Was it Gerd or Goldberg?
Gerd, Goldberg, and
No, Gerd was already
Road.
born, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. She was a child when Loki was born.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
the same
She was
age as
similar age to
Hyrule.
Hyrule.
It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
Goldberg and Loki and
Okay. I was okay. It's kind of mute now because I was going to say that if Gerd was also born at the same time, like she's got a bird pet and then so does Road. So I was wondering if like Loki would also have one, which would tie into like the hawk that kind of sits at the top of the Yggdrasil.
Hashtag alligator Loki. Let's go.
Alligator?
Okay.
What?
Oh, from Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Bruh.
And I won't lie, I don't know for Gert, but there's something interesting about Goldberg, and I did look back on Alabasta. Not just his drip or how he looks like, it's the way he was drawn, the way he's looking. It is very similar to Mr. Four from Alabasta, the guy who had that big, the bat and lasso, the dog gun, or the gun dog, depending how you like the term, which was interesting. Lasso.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's why I want to see another devil fruit object. Not at all because it's on my bingo card, but just because it'd be super cool and there's parallels.
I mean, it would be interesting that the twist is in Goldberg. It's Gert that has the weapon, the outfit. It would be the
Mommy
reversal of.
Gerd.
Yeah.
I do wonder also if Dragon Quest is going to somehow play into this. We've got Goldberg's shield that kind of has that Dragon Quest kind of vibes, and not only that, the chapter titled RPG was literally dragons,
Yeah.
right? It was
So,
like a giant dragon
don't-
and magic and stuff.
I don't know how much you know about the Dragon Quest lore, Kuso, but Dragon Quest
Very
7
little.
is the Cursed King, where the entire the world falls into
Ooh.
ruin because there's a king who is cursed, and the entire the hero's journey for that one is a way to free the king and his daughter from the curse, which basically transmutated them into a different being. Like the king himself got morphed into like a frog human kind of.
You know what? I'm willing to bet that Dragon Quest probably has some huge clues for this arc then.
For sure. I think that also like because Oda's pulling from his inspiration a lot recently with some of these like most recent arcs. He mentioned that before One Piece, or he mentioned after One Piece, he would like to do like a mecha type of thing, and we saw a lot of that in Egghead. And we know that Vicky the Viking was something that inspired him, as well as he's held Toriyama in high regard, rest in peace, and called him sensei. So it's like it makes complete sense that we would get a lot of these themes spilling into these like last arcs now that we're in the final saga. So I'm here for it. Absolutely.
I'm so here for it.
Correct.
Like I can't understand people that are like, oh, it's going to be like a 1 year arc or something. That's insane.
I didn't hear you, Dill. What?
Sorry.
I said correction on my words. It was Dragon Quest 8, not 7. But yeah.
Still, nonetheless, yeah. And
yeah.
With how big that was during Oda's childhood, 'cause something I've been doing a lot lately is going back through like old Shonen Jump from Oda's childhood to find inspiration that he might have. And with Dragon Quest being as big as it was in his childhood, and also the ties to Toriyama as well, I could definitely see it being an influence, especially for an arc like ELBAF, with just like you said, Kuso, last 2 chapters ago it was called RPG, you know? So I think he's showing us that this is going to be a step into the realm of fantasy, a little bit more so than action adventure like we're used to getting.
Yeah. And I mean, we got like a lot of science last arc, but there was also straight up magical circles. And so like this has been something that the community has been kind of primed for if you've been manga caught up for like about 1.5 years now.
Would you say those circles had runes in them?
Hey.
There's also some very interesting, because I've been saying that I've been getting the Alice in Wonderland vibe. The way Loki and Luffy are interacting is very similar, and actually in the novel of Alice and the Caterpillar, who talks about a certain, something that's supposed to happen, sort of prophecy type of thing, which also gave me the vibe.
Ooh.
And obviously ELBAF Fable, so I wouldn't be shocked if we're talking about Dragon Quest, Alice in Wonderland. There might be a mixture, a melting pot of different, stories all into one.
All right. So this is something that I forgot because it's been over 10 plus years since I'd played the game, but the king was his jester was the one who betrayed him, which does tie into the fact of Loki being the trickster god as well. Because the trickster betrayed the king, and the son of the king was Loki, the trickster god.
That's interesting.
Honestly, I'm loving all of the different ways that this could go, with so much like established with like Norse mythology and with all of the things that we know Oda was inspired by, and just all of the things that One Piece is already predetermined and established in previous arcs and whatnot. It's actually insane that we can cook so long. And like I feel like we barely scratched the surface. We've been going for over an hour on, mostly just Loki and this devil fruit, So it's what a chapter. Like what would you guys rate it?
10 out of 10. This was 10 out. This felt like legitimately just with all the reveals, the open setting, getting my boy Frankie first panel, seeing Gerd, seeing Goldberg, like seeing the new Giant Warrior Pirates. Listen, mommy Gerd, don't even get me started. I will get unhinged on this stream too quickly if we talk about Gerd.
And the landscape of ELBAF was just absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking about that before you jumped in, brother. Is that like Oda has to be proud of that one. That wide shot, the final reveal of how ELBAF looks proper, like it's gorgeous. It
Yes.
is legitimately gorgeous.
You know what's also very interesting? Obviously, I've been talking about the Drum Island parallels. I did like the panel at one point that was very with the castle, very Drum Island like. I find very interesting is at the beginning of the Grand Line, you've got Drum Island Castle being very similar, and then you have in the middle of the Red Line, you've got the Grand Line, you've got Pangaea Castle, and now you have the one in ELBAF. I'm just wondering why three castle are so similar, location and everything.
Hurting
It's
for
making me very
Gurdon is
interesting.
crazy, Vix. Yeah, that is
Good
very
for
interesting.
good. That's
like
that's a t-shirt right there.
That is.
Yep.
It kind of makes me think of there's a reason why those castles were built in those locations
Oh,
back in the day.
well, think about it too. We
But
know
it's-
that Tequila Wolf is like trying to stretch that. Maybe they're trying to go to those castles. Like maybe those are stops that Tequila Wolf are supposed to hit. Because I do agree, the architecture is very similar. It's just like a Thriller Bark. Like Cube. I went down a
said it.
rabbit hole of trying to
said it.
piece the small bit of the castle we saw in the God Valley flashback to Thriller Bark because I'm 100% convinced they are the same place. But like that architecture is so similar, not only to Thriller Bark's architecture, but to like Drum Island, like you said, and now this in ELBAF as well. So I think you've been onto something about looking at the castles the way you have been.
It's because Pangaea Castle, Drum Island Castle have been driving me crazy how there's literally a reversal to one another, especially with the 20 Doctors and 20 Kings.
Oh,
So
yeah.
now I'm keeping an eye on when they talk about Legend of 20 Giants. If that happens, dude, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna be vexing on y'all.
20 giants that took down
whoa,
King
hold
Loki.
on.
I
I don't like that
Yeah.
was verb.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
me
don't know.
neither.
That
I feel
verbiage is-
uncomfortable being verbed by Cube.
Hey man, listen, it's a brand new year, but yeah, I want to go into something because I do want to give flowers to someone who did bring it up, and it's about the cover stories. And I do believe that now with Yasui's sword being taken, there is some Moria-esque type of situation that I would agree that So I do want to bring it up because I did bash on the whole Thriller Bark thing many times, but it is interesting.
You think Moria is
Because we can
taking the
speak-
sword?
The fact that it's a sword of a Shimotsuke who recently died, and there's a lot of thing, and it is true that we don't see the hand, but the hand looks also very much like a shadow.
Yeah. Same with what we
So-
saw running away.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I do want to give.
I'm hesitant to take those flowers, but I mean anything that's not slander from Cube, I'm here for it. But I think it's interesting because I've heard a couple different like theories. It's so funny. We talked about the ELBAF landscape, which is the last panel first, and now we're finally talking about the cover story. With the missing people, I heard somebody bring up that it could be Hawkins, and I wanted to bring that up. I was talking about it a little bit yesterday, but wanted to make sure I mention it on stream as well.
is it Hawkins
because-
dead?
His status unknown, and so like it's Oda. Come on,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's a supernova as well. And part of his entire ability was cheating death, and he could just be restocking his voodoo doll collection. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Plus, he's a direct parallel or like a foil type of like some sort of mixture of parallels and inversions of Luffy's character. Him having the Wara Wara, and his sword is like a straw. So like Luffy's the straw hat pirate, but this is like a straw man. And he sacrifices his pawns and his crew willingly, whereas Luffy would never. And I remember I was spitting with Kev DOG like a while back about like how significant Hawkins is like as a foil to Luffy. Like within the actual narrative, I don't see him pulling too much like yet, but who knows? You know.
Yeah.
I thought it was the
another
world government,
candidate.
but now I'm thinking it might be Moria. I think
It might be
Vex is
Moria.
right. I think Thriller Bark is coming back in some big way.
Oh yeah,
Let's go.
it is. You do not bring up more than once Perona and Moria since Wano. Like I think 4 times there was a mini storylines about them without bringing them back in the story. So I do agree.
I mean, whatever Moria does is going to tie into Cross Guild as well, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
whatever-
100%.
I don't
gains.
know.
I think Moria and Dofi will end up joining Crossfield. Dofi begrudgingly, but
There's literally a sketch in the latest Viva card of Moria and Perona
with Crossfield.
as part of the with the Cross
Yeah,
Guild.
but I
Yeah.
mean, he's scratched out and like partially erased, and
That's
so
true.
is
He
she,
might
so
have.
I'm just like,
he might have changed.
he
that.
might have abandoned that entirely. And if I'm being 100% completely honest, you'll get my full thoughts on this when I finally get around to finishing a video that I have not been able to devote much time to recently. And then chapters have been dropping, so I've just been having to like tweak little bits here and there. But I honestly think that Moria makes a better fit with Neomads than Cross Guild.
Interesting.
Do you think he'd
And it's
bring
a way
Hog
of
back
bringing
with
them
him?
more into the fold.
Yeah, Hogback kind of
Uh,
needs to be with it, right?
Yeah.
He was
I
with
think there's
he
so
came with
many-
Moria. He came with Moria.
Yeah, Hogback and Moria are at sale in the New World somewhere at or around Hachinosu right now. Well, not at, but around Hachinosu or any of the surrounding islands. And so that's like kind of the birth of that whole agenda. And I'm on that boat all day, baby, until even after the final war, I'll still be on that boat. It could be anywhere. And but I think that Moria specifically, like, I could see Doffy potentially wanting to like team up because Doffy has been okay with riding the wave of a Yonko before. He's like, I'll ride the wave of Kaido all the way to the top. And you know, like he was just fine sitting back and letting somebody else and their reputation do all of the work while he just chilled. He was fine with that. Whereas Moria was specifically almost unalived by Doffy. And I don't know if he's gonna want to work with him specifically. And he never really gave a shit about being a warlord in the first place. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't really see him. I like a lot of theories are that like, oh, every former, you know, warlord like Law joins Cross Guild, Moria joins Cross Guild, Doffy joins Cross Guild. I don't know if I need that. You know what I mean? Just because it's convenient.
I don't think it's
makes
for me. It comes from that panel at Gold Roger's execution. There's got to be a reason that Oda chose to put those five next to each other like that because it's Crocodile, Buggy, Dofi, Moria, and Mihawk.
Doflamingo.
Like,
Mihawk, yeah, Mihawk. And also, like I said, for me, the reason why I do like not all of them, so I do agree on Vec. I don't need all of them.
yeah,
but
I don't need
believe
Law
that-
joining Cross Guild at
Yeah,
all. That makes no
but I
sense
feel
with
like
his
not-
character.
It makes no sense. For me, it
Original
would make
7
sense.
minus Jimbe. Yeah.
It would make
Yeah.
sense on characters similar to Crocodile Doflamingo. People that we needed in an arc, but because of how the stars are written, especially Luffy, remember, Ivankov had to remind him, we need Crocodile or else we can't help your brother. And I can control him. It was like a last resort. He did not really want him. So I do believe Cross Guild will be this force of, you know, Luffy's greatest hits. Luffy doesn't want him to help him, but will still help him and work with the plot. But having a storyline, you know, to break Luffy's character about that, you know. So that's why I do like the idea of Cross Guild taking some of them. Just the ones that
Yeah.
definitely Luffy would never side with.
Kuso wants to know if we want to talk about the Shadow Dude. Which Shadow Dude are you talking about?
The guy who
said
was on the
bring it
coast
on?
of ELBAF. Yeah, bring it on or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Like,
When
I
he
feel
was
like we're kind of forgetting
soon.
about him. What, soon?
That was basically like the whole meme behind him because we didn't really know, but he knew that someone was coming to ELBAF and like
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like could that have been Loki? Like we don't really see
Nah.
much.
Nah.
Like he
No.
could have.
He would have been chained at that time already.
Yeah,
Right?
he would have been chained.
Yeah.
It was like when they were
All
leaving,
right, hold on.
and then there was the
Listen to me.
2-3 days.
When
thing.
we're talking about Loki's silhouette specifically, and we see what we got back in the day versus what was just revealed, I feel like anything's on the table with
No, but I mean-
silhouettes. Am I right?
I mean, location wise,
Yeah.
he was looking at the sea, on a cliff. We can clearly see that he had nothing holding him, and that was like 2-3 days before that. It was just before they drank the green fairy, and then they fainted for 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's like, unless if he got chained up in the last couple of days, I can't see it being Loki.
It has to be a third player, right? Like,
I think that's the
Yeah.
actual villain. Tricked into thinking that Loki is the villain of the arc, but it will actually be whoever was silhouetted.
What?
The man behind the curtain, basically.
Yeah.
You started to break up bad, Lucas.
He
Yeah,
basically
I
said-
couldn't hear anything.
I heard what he said. He said that it might be the actual villain, like the man behind the curtain. Like Loki might not actually be the bit back, but this is like the actual villain.
Yeah, that's what I said. Can you
My
guys hear me
money's
now?
on Scopper. Yeah, I can hear you
Yes.
fine now.
Okay. On who?
You guys don't think it'll be Scopper Gaban?
I do. That was my initial guess, was Scopper Gaban or Shiki.
The reason I say that too is that like we literally at the start of Grand Line, right? Oh,
Mhm.
can people
No,
not
go
hear?
ahead. Go. No, yeah.
So at the very start of Grand Line, we had what's his name? The flower dude. My brain's completely
Crocus.
rotting.
Crocus.
Crocus, thank you. We had Crocus, right? And then we had in Sabaldi we had Silver's Rayleigh. And so that's kind of like we had at the start, we had the middle, and at the very end in ELBAF, I feel like we would have another Rogers pirate potentially. And that
See,
would
that's
kind
what
of sort of fit quite well as a pattern, right?
Yeah,
and
see,
would
I
also
thought that
fit the
too.
build.
It's very much like checkpoints in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
That's for sure.
Luffy's bound to lose to Loki at first, like he always does, right? Then he's going to need a mentor like he had in Wano, as well as with Rayleigh. And so Gaban kind of fits that bill quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I won't lie.
Plus he
with
has an axe. Sorry.
Yeah, and plus with the parallels of Sabaudi I've been talking about, it would make sense that in Sabaudi you met an island a giant island, a gigantic island for humans. You meet the right hand man of the Roger pirate. It would make sense that the opposite arc parallel to it, you find his sword in command,
Mm-hmm.
Scopper. So that's what I do. For me, it's either going to be ELBAF. He's not in ELBAF. He's in Roadstar. He's in one of those two islands.
My
I
money
agree.
was on Lodestar originally, but that silhouette does look eerily like that silhouette we saw on the cover with
Focus.
Crocus.
Crocus,
Yes,
yeah.
thank you. We were just talking about him too. So that's what made me originally say Shiki, but I don't necessarily know if that's Shiki either. It could just be Scopper and whoever colored his hair blonde. You know what I mean? Or his hair has bleached from being old. Like,
I think Dawn Dusk even talked about how that's probably a wig, because we saw in another chapter cover, like literally like an Amigasa hat with like the wig coming off of it. So that yellow thing is probably most likely a wig.
Part
and
of
so
the
we
hat.
probably it's part of the hat. So I don't think we have to worry too much about whether that ties into the hair color or whatever.
Whatever, honestly, I'll say this. Whoever that person is, I've said this, unless if he has one of the strongest observation hockey we've seen to this day, it feels like he has the ship bugged. The way he said, come on, because I'm reading the panel as well, come on, Zen. Like he's literally listening to them and them saying, we're going to ELBAF next. And he says, come on, Zen. Like whoever it is, I think he has that ship bugged. You know,
I
he puts
think
us on
it's
board
observation
buggy ship.
hockey.
I mean, unless it's
This late in
because
the
Shanks
game,
was literally like,
observation.
I met a friend that I thought was dead, and that could have been Scopper, and so they knew that the Giants were going to pick up Luffy and coming back to ELBAF.
Yeah, I mean, could be. I like I said, I think Scopper was my first pick, and he's still probably my strongest. The drinking too, like that's just very much in line with Rayleigh and Crocus as well. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
Like, because you can clearly see that man is pulling on the bottle a bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And think about it, being retired on this island that is usually let's be real, it'd be a terrifying place for anyone that wasn't a Roger pirate or Shanks' crew.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, someone is either from someone Shanks' crew or Roger's crew, or someone who basically doesn't want the sun god to do what he's supposed to do.
It's Yasop
That's
finally
how-
meeting his son.
Yeah. Yeah, just like I said. It's
I
just
hate
weird
that
for
guy.
me.
Boo.
I hate him.
Boo.
Boo, Yasop.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
No, I think that it'd
Who
be
haters,
interesting, and
yeah.
not necessarily that like they don't want the sun god to like they don't want the false sun god to like make a move, and also they might not want like the appropriate sun god being Luffy, like contextually, right? To make a move preemptively. Because remember, the whole part of the story before was we were too early. And we still don't really know what that fully means, but somebody does. And they're probably positioned or poised, to prevent something from happening prematurely, like Rayleigh being where he was. And like you were mentioning, Kuso, if it was a Roger pirate or somebody who was familiar to them, it would only make sense that they would be kind of gatekeeping the finish line so that like we didn't jump the gun a bit.
Yeah,
At the same time.
Sense.
So it's not necessarily like something malicious, but maybe something cautious,
Mm-hmm. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
We
Just
do know,
like I said,
though,
it's-
in some regard, that it is the correct time because Shanks finally said it's time to go for it.
That's true.
I mean,
Just
yeah, like a
saying.
ballpark. Like, but, who knows?
Roughly. Man, Oda's such a master of sleight of hand. Like, there's so much going on that I literally forgot about this shadow dude as well until recently.
I'm more concerned about Saul. Honestly,
Yeah, same.
I need to see it. I need to see
Oh
it.
yeah, see, I forgot about him as well. Like, it's crazy.
bro, forgot about Saul. I
forgot
can't wait
about
for
everything.
Lilith to show up and be like, "Yo, what's up, Saul? It's me, Vegapunk," and he's like, "I'm sorry, what?" Like, I don't know. I think that would be crazy, and there's gonna be a huge Robin moment, obviously, that I will probably break. Saul is he's in my top 5. One of my favorite characters in all of One Piece.
And we do need
He always has been.
Nika, right? Sorry.
Yes.
Continue.
For sure.
Soul is a top for sure. Sorry.
But yeah, like he always has been, even since before we found out what we found out in Egghead. So I was like, that was such a huge moment for me, and I really absolutely need to see like interactions with him here on ELBAF somehow as well, and how that plays into things. We could learn more about the other giant civilizations. Like, he comes from the South Blue, and he's not from Warland specifically, and I think this could lead into information on ancient giants and obviously the ancient kingdom and the Void Century and stuff. There's so much huge stuff that centers around Saul. That's what I'm most excited about. But I will say Loki is a close second. And in like one chapter, like Oda like establishing such a strong second place for me, because Saul is somebody who I've been a huge fan of literally pretty much the entire time I've been watching through One Piece and reading through it. So
Yeah,
that speaks volumes to Oda's ability to write. What an intro for Loki. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, the one thing I'm very excited, I'm more curious about is a Sorna that was introduced in Whole Kick about ELBAF with Mother Karma using a statement that Sengoku reused when he referred to Rocks Pirates. They got for one big score. And so I don't know if it's going to go so Big Mom, but I do hope in this arc you know how old the giants are. We are getting into that Whole Kick, like, what was this thing with ELBAF 100 years ago, Why do all of those scheming and those kind of stuff,
Mhm.
Because I do feel like this is definitely the game. Obviously, Saul, I can't wait to see Saul. But I won't lie, the Mother Caramel mystery is still a bit bothering me. Like, what's their plan?
Hey, Kuso, we were thinking the same thing.
Let's go.
We're talking about how many. See, with Mother Caramel, I feel like she's wrapped up. The only thing I could see with Mother Caramel coming back is Pandora, right?
Yeah.
I think that's important.
When they told her like just abandon everything, he said, "You're crazy. Linden is perfect for my big final score." Same statement, and she was willing to do everything because she needed Linden for one specific thing. And right now, Big Mom is still, after 60 years, still trying to get into ELBAF. Like, I want to understand, what is this trope? Something that the World Cypher Pole said, okay, we'll let you do it. Like, it also was beneficial for the world government. Like, that is interesting. Something that where the world government says, okay, we've got your back. What's your plan, Like, it has to be something like depraved, you know what I mean? For them
Maybe
to be,
just the infiltration of ELBAF, you know what I mean? Like, it's... The world government cannot get their hands on ELBAF. It is one of the last holdouts that is completely untouched by the world government's influence.
Yeah, like this could actually be we could be getting now the domino, all the dominoes that were dropped 60 years ago with Luffy being there. Since it's gonna happen, where we're gonna get the full picture. That's why I feel like it's so interesting, because It's before the rock stuff, and the same statement was used for the rock, so where Big Mom was a part of. So that's why I said it's quite interesting. I don't need Mother Caramel to come back to the story. I need the storyline to come back. It's like a bit like NL. I don't need NL for say to be back in the story, but I need some of the lore of NL was talking to come back.
Yeah,
that's how I see it. And
Mac
let's
in
not
the
forget,
chat.
Mother Caramel was hot when she was younger as well.
That is true. Nack said he thinks she may have been the one to spread the prophecy about Loki being the accursed prince. Because if they saw her as like an important figure like that, and like I said, Madame Charlie, Mother Caramel, I could see that. I could see that being completely the case, actually.
Yeah, I can see it as well. And I also find and you know, like we've been talking about, the location of Pandora is also missing. Like there's some interesting stuff happening, and I'm very curious on how it'll happen.
Well, with Pandora being missing,
another.
Oh, go ahead, Vix.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that like we have not seen any concrete evidence that have we seen concrete evidence that homies disappear when the creator dies?
So
No.
I went to read back. He's basically he was in one panel, but then the next panel he just zooms in. So he zooms out Pandora, and then we don't see Pandora anymore. And there's that SBS where he just says, "Oh, Pandora's wandering somewhere else or something." MIA. So its status unknown.
Clearly, there's the speculation that Big Mom is still around, but as far as we know, she is out of the story. But Zeus is still with Nami, so we have seen no concrete information one way or the other. But we're leaning towards that they do stick around post mortem, like how certain lasting effects can will persist into the world even after their devil fruit user, like Boa said about her Mara fruit.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Is like we don't have a baseline of non-awakened other than Boa saying that even if she died, the people turned into stone won't change back. That could just be her fruit, or that could be certain fruits that are like that, because there are paramecias that their effects do only last if they are conscious, like Sugar's fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or like Bonnie's, I feel like as well would fit in that category. So I think that it's definitely not something we are really solid on one way or the other. No concrete evidence at all. But I think like obviously a lot of people in the community are assuming that Big Mom and or Kaido will be making a return at some point. ELBAF would be the most opportune time to see Big Mom come back into the story, and the ties with Mother Caramel are obvious as well with ELBAF and Big Mom. But one thing that I thought was really important to note was during Roof Piece, I believe it was when Kid and Law were bantering and they were going up against Big Mom. Whenever she went like full on soul focus and started consuming her own soul and gargantuanified herself. But before she made like the final homie that she made, I forgot what it was called. It was like Pain or something like that. But she was referred to by Kid as a yokai possessed Baba or witch or something like that. And so like it's really interesting to think of the fact that like potentially Mother Caramel has been possessing Lin Lin the entire time, and what we see as Big Mom has just been the Mother Caramel presenting, you know, as Lin Lin. But like then we got Olin when she had her amnesia arc in Act 2 of Wano and stuff like that, and that was actually Lin Lin herself being in the pilot seat and not her being possessed for a period of time until it came back. So I think that would be really interesting, is if Big Mom as a vessel, if Charlotte Lin Lin as a vessel is no longer around, there could still be the lingering spirit or like soul, like how Brooke's soul did wander and stuff like that. Like we could still see like that, like, you know, yokai that can possess things in Mother Caramel still lingering in this realm. I think that would be sick.
I am a big believer. I'm a big believer on that, because there was to add to that, there's something else like Kaido said, the thing that angered him. Because if you look at the flashback when they met, she didn't refer to herself as Big Mom. She referred to him as Lin Lin. And then Kaido, he's upset with her saying, yeah, 30 years ago when you just left. Like something happened to Big Mom where even Kaido was, that's why he was so upset with her. She just abandoned them all, like left. which makes me think of what if at one point what Vex is saying is Linden around the time the Rocks Pirates had a bit more control, but something happened after God Valley in which the Mother Camel presence just took over completely and just left, did her own thing. You know what I mean? He was upset, like it was out of character for him that she just abandoned them all.
Yeah, like a Cavendish Hakuba type of situation,
Yeah,
but with less of a, and not just sleep, but like something else as the trigger. What were you going to say, Dill?
So the reduction of Kid calling her a yokai possessed Baba or witch is straight up yokai is derived to mean evil spirit. So it's an evil soul possessing like the witch of Big Mom. So it's directly translating saying that her fruit is controlling her soul. Like her own will is no longer hers. She's being possessed in that form.
Yeah. It's interesting. There was a point I wanted to add. You do remember the scenes where the giant was appalled by what Big Mom did? Eating everyone?
For sure.
That's the one-on-one, the same scene as when Johnny thought that Nami unalived Usopp in Arlong Park, but it was about a perspective. That's why I think there is something to it. It's almost the same scene. They're seeing something, and from their point of view, we get the idea. And then we found out, no, she actually saved me. She stabbed herself, so I can escape. So it kind of makes you think of the same thing. Like what the giant saw might have not been what we thought he saw. You know what I mean?
So you're saying Big Mom eating those kids was for the greater good?
I'm gonna say this: what if Mother Caramel? You know, we talk about sacrifice. Look at what Lost Fruit could do as an awakening. Think of what Mother Caramel's offered. What if the kids were actually a sacrifice for her to use Big Mom's body as a vessel? You know what I mean?
You got
a
the
soul for a
Faustian deal
soul.
about this?
Yeah, like
that's soul for a soul, baby.
A soul for a soul. You know, like the only way that it works is she has to sacrifice certain souls. You know, pure souls, like kids. So I've always wondered. That's why Big Mom, and like Vex says, the moment she gets amnesia, she gets back into Linden. Like her mind was preserved for all those years. Like it didn't evolve.
Yeah,
it's just
It's definitely some interesting food for thought. I
wonder though if she only took full control over Big Mom when she became Big Mom and stopped being Lin. Because Big Mom present days has a very different vibe than young Charlotte Lin.
Yeah,
I think that the hunger pangs and like it was a whole part of her arc whenever we were in Whole Cake, that when she saw Mother Caramel's image, she was like soothed and things. I think that there was like a chunk of time where it was kind of like autopilot, and when we saw the more like childish behaving Big Mom, that was actually just Charlotte Lin. But then there was the more conniving and like side of her. Like there's such a weird like pendulum swinging back and forth between being so unintelligible and almost primal, and then going to like full mad scientist, like mastermind kind of mentality. So like I could see it not just being like for a stretch of years, like it's like kind of like I said, like a Cavendish Hakuba type of thing, but maybe hunger is the thing instead of sleep. I don't know. It's interesting to think about, though.
It is very interesting to think about.
Someone touching, someone going a bit into darkness until it's the way that we see in many lore and tropes. Someone just going too far, and then is so corrupted by the evil that it's no more the same person.
Yeah.
And I feel like God Valley could be it. Something happened to the rocks, and that was the last thing. There was too much for Liland's pure heart, and then the Mother Camel presence, it just takes 400% control. Like yin and a yang type of thing, where it's don't know which one is the good side or the bad side, but the bad side just takes over completely. And it could become Darth Vader.
Oh my goodness!
I'm gonna start with the analogy because I keep on going the whole day. But yeah, it's like we've got to give a shout out to Vivi's smartness of adding her a message to the Straw Hats in the newspaper.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I was so happy to see that.
That for me confirms she's next to Kama.
Right? Let's talk about that, right? Because the only ones that have so far seen that are ones that do not know what that means.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, that tells me she's coming back to the crew.
Oh yeah,
That's what that symbol means. That's what that symbol means. It's time for me to join the crew again. Like that's it's huge. We've talked for almost 2 hours already and have not even touched on that. The fact that Vivi has sent a message now to Luffy. Dill, I noticed that too. And Robin being like, it looks kind of familiar because she would have been on the ship when they did that, like hiding. Like
She didn't know the full context.
Yeah, she just didn't know the full context. Yeah.
For me, the moment
these
that
people crying from the gallows,
Big
be like, "What the fuck is
Big
going
Mom
on?"
foreshadowed. Big Mom foreshadowed. She's first going after Luffy, then Big News Morgan. So when I saw Vivi Big News Morgan, it's okay. She's getting back with the Straw Hats. That's when I knew she was gonna get back with them. When
I
she was
just
the
think
Big
it's
News
so
Morgan.
funny that like some form of Photoshop exists in the One Piece world. Like they can't escape from the Adobe suite. But that's so crazy to me is because they mentioned like, oh, the rest of it looks blurry, but this looks clear, and like so it's like a poor photo doctoring.
Photoshop, yeah.
It's so funny to me. That's like the first thing I thought of. Like, but yeah, it reminds me of the 3D2Y, like Luffy ringing the bell type of situation where like sending a message to the papers is obviously a huge Gigabrain play. But like she wasn't really the one who thought of it. It's just like obviously
Luffy.
she had the opportunity to enact it, you know. Well, Luffy didn't even think of it. Like, didn't Rayleigh think of it?
Yeah, Rayleigh was the one who came up with it.
Yeah, and he's
If I'm
top of the verse. So
If I'm not mistaken, it's almost it's the same place that he did a 3D to Y as well.
yeah, so this is huge.
It was his right arm in 3D 2Y. It was his left in this one.
It was the left in this one?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was the right as well.
Can we all agree that Frankie's cowboy outfit is just peak?
Like, Frankie could wear anything and you're gonna think it's peak, brother.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what
Yes, I am. Goddamn right. Love that man.
Is he gonna get a Viking outfit though when he goes to ELBAF, or
I
he's
hope
gonna
so.
keep that?
For sure. There's no way he doesn't, right?
I mean, every arc, the Straw Hats get multiple costumes, right? They have the one that they have at the very start, and then like pretty early on, they kind of get another one. Usually.
They do a full Lady Gaga like costume change. Like
It's only Lucas that praises Frankie's outfit. I won't lie.
Bro, he looks
He
cool
needs
as
it.
hell.
when homie had the pigtails, I was here for it.
Same. When he had the whale hair on Zoe, peak. Cannon
my
hair and
goodness.
Dressrosa, peak.
He's gonna have
Okay,
a world tree. His hairstyle is gonna literally be a world tree.
I will
Watch.
cry. That sounds beautiful.
I'll say this.
Oh my
I've always said that the one who has the best drip in every arc is Nami. Don't ask me for details why, but
Facts.
he has the best
Dude,
drip.
Robin in glasses this arc though.
Why?
Like, this chapter though. Oh my god. If we're gonna
I
start
don't want
simping,
us.
like,
I don't want to get hit by YouTube, so I'm not gonna say
Oh
anything
my
else.
goodness. Dude's on a
For your
rotor
imagination
timing.
to think, Kuso,
That's crazy.
you're a great theorist. Just think about it and theorize why.
just
Nah,
theorize
I don't know. I think you should just tell me.
Oh my goodness. I think Gerd has the best drip. Like I agree with Knack. That's the best drip of the arc we've seen so far. Like
What about Balzac?
sheesh.
That's
Yo.
That's what I'm calling him from now.
Such a good name.
Bulzac. Balzac.
Yeah, bro, just like somebody clip that. Let's get it on the soundboard ASAP.
Yeah.
Join the Discord. Link in the description. Like
Listen, that's the only thing I can
crazy.
like, look at his chin, bro. It's supposed to be a beard, I think, but like that giant had me like, what the fuck?
So I have actually a question because when it comes to weather islands, I'm always confused. So with what we've got in our ELBAF, because we know there's a very summery side to it or spring side to it, and then we see a very winter. You guys think it's like an island that has like all the different weather phenomena?
Yeah,
See
well,
them?
think about it,
Probably.
brother. Think about it. That lower tier, which is where the Straw Hats are, it's completely covered by the canopy of trees. So the temperatures would be lower there, like naturally, because it's not getting sunlight. Yeah. It I think the second tier is going to be like fair weather, autumn, fall, and then the top tier where Asgard would be and stuff is going to be the like
Spring.
sunny spring, summer. Yeah.
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 So I don't know if we'll get all But does that mean that Kid was selling up? Because he sold up on a part of it that was not winter. So is there a part of it on the base island, the Midgard of
It's
it?
just the bottom. Yeah, I think the bottom is usually kind of like a spring-like thing.
Remember how Shanks and his crew were dripped and all the other people as well? They did not feel the cold at all. There was no cold at all.
Yeah.
They were just so
Yeah.
relaxed. And we've
Is
seen
the
with
tree
Ace-
gonna fall,
Ace
by the
Plus,
way?
I think Loki's
Sorry?
gonna fail the tree. Yes. Look at the way that giant sword is stuck through like the bottom of the root and through that middle part. I think pulling that out will cause the tree to fall. Maybe it's like
You know what?
I think,
kept into place by that.
Dude,
Knack,
it would be so great
Knack
if
has
it's Usopp.
Knack has
Yep.
the exact same line of thinking that I do in the chat. Is that it could be that Kid was pulling up on a different sort of realm per se,
Yeah.
as far as ELBAF, and so like I don't know how, like maybe he sailed like I feel like there's multiple ways in, just like with Wano, there's the multiple different ports and whatnot. But I believe that it could be similar to Wano's architecture or geography, that there is multiple different like zones that could all be separate, different like because on the Grand Line you have all of these different potential climate islands, and I think that it could be split into several different ways based off of the branches. And I don't know if we need them to be underwater or underground, but because like Oda doesn't have to do like a full rip of the actual Yggdrasil. But if it's just like this branch is a winter island, this branch is a summer island, this branch is spring, this one is autumn, and stuff like that, I'd be satisfied with that.
Yeah. Wish I was gonna say something, but just went out of my mind completely.
Real quick then, another thing is like with Giant Jack, we saw that there was an island that was flung up from the knock-up stream, and it like rested upon Giant Jack, right? So this could be several different islands. They did even call an ancient giant a continent puller. So they could have assembled this like how we all kind of assume that New Wano was assembled. This could be kind of like that same vibe, you know?
Yeah.
Which would be really
The thing,
interesting.
the whole tree thing. I would love it that it's Usopp's storyline, because it would be very parallel to Nolan in Skypiea or Jaya. You know, cutting down the tree, going against a giant snake referred as a god. You know, that would be very, reminiscent of Nolan, which would be interesting.
Sorry, I'm reading real quick. But yeah, I think that I can't wait for Tekking to do his geography as everything on this. He usually does them like later on after we know everything we need to know about. So this will be like a post ELBAF video, which could be like 100 chapters from now or something like that. But I actually cannot wait for Tekking to do that kind of video for this, because I feel like this could be like the craziest geography we've seen yet, you know?
Definitely.
I can see that. Honestly, I'm very happy with this. The start of. I won't lie. This is what I consider to be the real start of the ELBAF.
I mean, I think
but-
the two before that was kind of like foreplay, right? And now we're seeing the actual action.
Yeah, like we were on ELBAF, but like it didn't really feel like it to me. Like this was the beginning of the arc, in my opinion.
But I feel like it was done right, because you kind of appreciate the grand scale of everything a bit more because of the scale model that we saw before that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it kind of would have robbed us of that in a way if like they just turn up on ELBAF and we just see the whole island straight away, I feel like. Whereas like Luffy breaking that brick wall and then having that revealed to us in that way, I feel like had more impact, potentially.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about Loki, the devil fruit, the world tree, and geography in general. Talked a lot about Gerd, not enough, but that's fine. Talked about Shiki, Saul, whatever the shadow was. we talked a little bit about Enel as well. But like, what do you guys think is potentially going down with Uruj? And like, if there's any ties to Burka or the Summit of High West, because we were pretty convinced that there would be some sort of island cloud situation adjacent to the World Tree, and I don't think that's entirely ruled out because of that that rainbow, like I was saying earlier. But narratively, Uruj is the last of the supernovas. Do we still think we're going to be seeing him? Like I know a lot of us did before.
I mean, in post time skip, the way the arcs were like influenced in storylines has always been because of the involvement of a supernova to some shape or form. You know, we've got with Law, Kid, Beige, Bonnie, and so on. So even in enemies with Apu, Hawken. So I do believe that if Uruj, I do see him being an ELBAF. I do believe it's when we're going less into the whole adventure. Oh, it's such a great island, to more like the nitty and gritty part of the arc, where we're getting into the true lore, like what's going to be the quest of this arc. I do feel like it'll be around that time that Uruj will reveal himself.
I feel like he will tie in quite heavily into obviously Burka, but also to like Nika lore. And so when we get into that, I feel like he'll be kind of more relevant. But he can also make himself bigger, right? The more punished he gets.
Yeah,
So
he bulks up basically with damage.
Yeah. How big can he get? I'm kind of
We
curious.
saw him take down a pacifista pre-time skip. He was the only one who actually had any damage on a, like, Zoro flubbed against one, Law's Devil Fruit was useless against one, Kid couldn't magnify them, Luffy couldn't do anything. No one could match up to a pacifista except for him pre-time skip, and he had the lowest bounty of all of the supernovas. Plus what we found out he accomplished in Toto Land, he took out a full sweet commander, and this was pre like the Straw Hats showing up. So like it's interesting to think like he's definitely somebody who's formidable and can hang in the New World. I'm really interested to see more on his Devil Fruit, because we're led to believe it's something karmic related, like karma related, which would be really sick as well.
And if I'm not mistaken, his first bounty, 108 million, does connect to Hinduism. It's a holy number in Hinduism. I remember Will was talking about it. The beads that Blackbeard and Ace have as well in Hinduism are called the 108 beads, which is interesting because that's his bounty as well.
Yeah, I think Joy Boy Theories did like a whole video in just 108 as like a holy number.
Yeah. But like something that I was thinking about is we know that Burka was taken down by Enel somehow through like him doing like a Death Pia equivalent scale of like a destruction, but I don't fully believe that he actually like, I don't know, like I think it would be really interesting if Burka also had like an Angel Island type of equivalent, like a chunk of actual Verth, like a real like land island that got shot up into the clouds. What if that island were to have been knocked down from the clouds and fell into the tree and became one of the new realms or something like that? Like
the very top. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I think that'd be really interesting. Like I don't know, like it's an idea I just had, so it's pretty half baked, but it would be pretty interesting because it would have been 2 years ago it would have been actually several years ago that happened. Because I think Burka's destruction was like 7 years prior to the events of pre-time skip. So if I'm recalling correctly, it would have been like 9 years ago as far as current post-time skip events. It would be really sick.
I mean, that'd be cool for me too if there was like a giant bell or something at the top of the tree, because there'll be a literal Christmas tree as well.
Oh, wow. Christmas piece is real.
Let's go.
For sure.
Yeah, and I won't lie, this is why I do feel like, especially with Uruj, like knowing if he is indeed connected to, and it would be a similar parallel with Doflamingo, where we're getting some of the Doflamingo lore and someone who used to be connected to him, Corazon, but in reverse. Like that's why, like, if Uruj does have connection because of Burka or Vanel, it's a good way to get the Enel storyline without bringing him back from the moon, So Uruj's point of view.
I think Uruj has to be now or never. Like, I don't need
definitely,
him
definitely. Yeah,
in Lodestar, nor do I need him on One Piece, really.
Yeah, I won't lie. he attacked someone in Total Land, Big Mom's Island, connection to ELBAF.
Mhm.
And the one damage feat that we can give is with passive piece of Kuma, who is a Buccaneer, connects Lucy to Giant Legends as well. So I do feel, and it was in Sabaody, so I do feel like if there's an island where he's going to show up, it would have to be ELBAF, honestly.
Well, mentioning Uruj and Kuma in the same breath, also, like, they're two of the most religiously inspired, other than people who literally claim to be or are heralded as gods themselves. Like, Uruj is a fallen monk, and he like said prayers and like things like that. And like you said, there's also religious aspects baked into his design, whereas Kuma literally carries around a Bible and prayed to Nika at a church and things like that. So like it's really interesting to see the two of them like interacted the way that they did, even though it was just a pacifista.
It also ties
definitely makes you
into
wonder.
when the borders were opened in Japan, right? When there was kind of like the battle between Buddhism and like Christianity, for example.
I didn't even think of that. That's sick.
Yeah,
Because I was thinking
yeah.
Uruj might be also like a follower of Nika, but if he's something that opposes like the Church of Nika, you know, like that would be really interesting.
It could either be opposed or they could be worshipping the same god, looking at the same god, but kind of interpreting it differently, right?
Yeah, as well.
Yeah.
And
Either way,
I
it's
was,
interesting.
and if you look at the Jolly Roger of Uruj, there's some similarities how Kuma's Jolly Roger is, with not having crossbones, but having those pearls, you know, sapphire pearls around it. And then there's the whole thing of, you know, I've always felt like he had such a low bounty, right? For someone who did the biggest feats in Sabaody, and it made me think of, what if it's because he heard what happened to Anel in Skypiea? Like, there was something about the legend that he heard. So he went to the Blue Seas. Like, what if the reason why his bounty is so low is because he just made a name for himself because he just arrived? You know? Because that would have been like, what, 2 months ago, Skypiea from Sabaody, maybe? A month or 2 months? So it would have been enough time for him to... Yeah.
He would have the fall of Burka was like years before the actual story, the actual like events of pre-time skip. So I'm not quite sure.
I'm talking about Skypiea.
Timelines.
If he hears about and then what happened to Anel and Skypiea, and something fits a legend that he's heard about a sun god or something else.
Oh,
so then he hears that it comes from the Blue Sea. Like, that could be there's something about the downfall of Anel being from Burka that moves him. So that's why, like, it could explain all his low bounty. It's not because he was discreet. Maybe he just happened to just come to the Blue Sea from the White Sea recently. Like, that was just his initial bounty, you know?
Yeah. I'd like to see if we don't even get like him in the main storyline or something like that. I'd still just like to know like what the heck this dude went through at Raijin Island, because that would like that's such a cool setting that we never got to go to. But he's the only person other than that like umbrella selling lady that we know like went through there, other than I guess the Roger Pirates and Odin when they did their whole world tour, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would be sick too, because that was like an island I always thought was really fascinating.
Definitely.
Do we also think that, like, I mean, some people are convinced that the man marked by flames is going to be something that's also brought up this arc, whether you believe it's Scopper or Saul or somebody completely new or something like that. That's also like another potentially brand new figure to be introduced in ELBAF. And like, what are we thinking on that? Have any of our opinions changed now that we're finally here, you know?
Like, I mean, my agenda is that it's on Vera, but like symbolically makes way more sense than ELBAF for the final poneglyph to be here. And that's the end of it. I don't have any other thoughts.
Yeah, we didn't really see any whirlpools or like a black ship because we were swept away, like with those straw hats that we have at ELBAF right now. But maybe with the other half of the crew pulling up, maybe we will see that. And, you know, that could be the tell. I know a lot of people are speculating that it could be Scopper Gabon. And if he is here, then this would be the arc we get it. A lot of people were speculating it's Saul. And again, he is basically confirmed to be here somewhere. So we would be getting it then. I wouldn't be opposed to us getting it somewhere else, or like somewhere later. You know what I mean?
I do feel like the fact that the Burn Sky Man is going to be on a ship makes it feel like it's going to be the first proper pirate battle that's going to be on top of a ship, if you know what I mean, like on the ocean. Like I know Oda said it's the final poneglyph is going to be either on Villa, ELBAF, or well, I can't even remember what the third one was. But
Wait,
he
it's
listed three
Vera.
locations.
Wasn't it Sphinx? I'm not sure.
Maybe
I'm not sure.
Lodestar. I think it might have been Lodestar, right?
Wait, I'm building. Wait.
Yeah. But and so it makes it seem like it's going to be on land somewhere, but at the same time, the fact that it's going to be on, like, there's a black ship involved, and there's this whole lore around whirlpools and stuff, like you brought up, Vex. I feel like it would be interesting if we finally get a battle on an ocean, like proper pirate style.
It's
Like, what we
ELBAF
should've
full
got from
elite,
Egg-
so it's
Go ahead.
ELBAF, Hashinosu, or Vera.
Hachinosu, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that like you were saying, we haven't seen like a really like large scale seafaring battle, and I think that also is something that we missed out because we were shown the setup for one with the Battle of Ed War in Chapter 0, which was Roger versus Shiki. And so maybe that could, lead into like a whole nother like Shiki parallel. Like I need him. I need to see Shiki. I don't know if we're gonna see him right now, but I need to see
Shiki's a
him,
tricky
you know what
one
I mean?
though, right? He's such a tricky one for Oda. Like, I don't know if Oda wants to even use him because he's such a pain in the ass to use because, like, was it Strong World? Kind of ruined it.
Yeah.
Yes, but no. So like the basis of Strong World was a story that was entirely written by Oda. But there were like some, I guess, creative liberties. I don't know. The SBS confused me because he was credited as the writer of that like story. Well, they said that it's based off of a script written by Oda. So yeah, they might have made a little bit of changes here and there, but
It was the devil fruit, which I found it very interesting because we already had fruits that could fly, but it was a term that he used. He didn't like that, they gave him a fruit that enables him to fly freely. It was not the flying part. He added the word freely, which I think is the way they did his devil fruit. They didn't like it. Like there was a reason why, and he had an idea for Shiki, so he had to change because of that. It was a devil fruit that bothered him. They took too much liberty when
Strong World is not canon as it doesn't fall into the timeline, but episode 0 and the Battle of Ed War, that is 100% canon. So all of those events are for sure going to be important, and a part of what was stated by Shiki is that he had a master plan, and like 20 years down the line he would enact it. So I mean, like, it's time. Like like it's I think it's like past time at this point. I don't know if it lines up perfectly, but I need to see Shiki. He's one of my most anticipated characters. Like, obviously, I'm looking forward to Rouge to finally get, especially with the showing we got from Bonnie. Like, that was insane. I could not have expected for that much of an impact on the story from one of the supernovas. Because like we had Law for so long, and obviously it's one of my favorite characters, and he was very impactful to the story. But Bonnie just blew me away, and I don't know if I should expect the same level of impact from Rouge, or if he's gonna be like an Apu or like a Hawkins type of character.
I feel like we have to see a Rouge, right? Like, there's no way Oda's gonna forget him because he loves to play bingo with these sort of characters that he kind of introduces.
Yeah,
and we've had everyone else
anticipating it, but Shiki's still like the number one figure for me right now, as far as like who I'm hoping to see the most.
He's interesting for sure. Yeah,
I won't lie, and also the fact that he rivaled this from everyone he can rival to Luffy's era, it was those supernovas. So definitely, I don't see, like, even look at Beige, who is even the supernova that was just there for one arc. How important he was to the arc and how he wrote him. He's not. Is he the best written character in Whole Cake? No, but he was a really good written character. The way he defended his daughter, his motivation, willing to work with the Straw Hat. So like he's put a lot of effort in the supernova. So I don't see Urouge, and obviously with Shiki, the fact that he redrops an SBS with Shiki and the third and the former Shishibukai in it, I don't think it's a coincidence. He's trying to remind us of Shiki, the normies of Shiki. So I could see him also making some sort of return in the story. Or we get, let's say we get an arc where it's a massive flashback for God Valley. Like instead of like getting just, 1 or 2 chapters, what if it's a 5-6 chapter flashback moment where it's Roger's era, and that's how Shiki comes back, as well. So I do see Shiki to some
we
shape
at
or form
least
return.
need that, yeah.
Yeah, we need something.
Yeah.
And obviously Higurashi looking very similar to the Shiki. And we saw him and then in the God Valley flashback. That was the same face that Higurashi had.
Well, it was confirmed that in the Vapor card information that we got recently.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that. So there's definitely going to be. Don't worry, Vex. Your Shiki is definitely going to be back in some shape or form.
I need it. I need it.
Yeah, bro. But the problem is he's not going to be related to Thriller Bark.
You don't know that.
You can't have both, mate. You gotta
don't-
choose one.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
Though.
Okay, but
you
if you
gotta
had to
pick
pick one.
one.
If you had to pick one.
Dude, imagine Shiki was
You
the one
can't
who
make
moved
me
through the
choose.
bark. The first time I would be.
All
there.
right, we'll choose for you, it's Shiki.
You can't make me choose.
Yeah, no Thriller
those are-
Bark. Let's go.
Those are your words. Those are your words. Chat, they're conspiring. This is crazy. I didn't
bro.
expect this.
Bingo
J'accuse.
piece.
I mean, it's probably
Hey,
going to be some sort of a battle royale type of thing, right?
Slander Cube.
I think
sorry,
it
what
will be a
Kusa?
bit of a. I think it will be a bit of a battle royale type of thing. So there is room for a lot of players to sort of be present. It's such a big space anyway, and it's Warland, so I feel like multiple parties can be involved. So yeah, Thriller Bark can come in. Sure, why not?
Let's go. Somebody clip that. But I think
but
that
if
it's just
Thriller Bark, then it's no Shiki. So
sure. I think that it's really, really interesting that like he could be the full. I know obviously we still have Garp and Sengoku, and we would love to see what is going on with Garp right now, but I feel like he's gonna leave Blackbeard unattended for a while now. We did just get a lot of Blackbeard. So maybe we get more of Blackbeard right away and we see through Garp, but Shiki would be the other most obvious pick to get like the tellings of God Valley, not from like a marine perspective. Because we already had Sengoku spill some of the beans, but I feel like that's as much as he's willing to say. And what reason does Garp have to? I mean, I know Kube has been saying it for years that we could see pulling Garp's memories out as well.
Yeah.
And I think that would be sick if we got that. But Shiki is just another obvious avenue if he were to be introduced for us to figure out what went down that fateful day. Or
One
both.
final thing I'm curious about, which may or may not come into play by the end of this story, but long time ago when Oda sort of addressed that, Vikings are a big part of this story, and like he had these chapter covers where he was, had concept art of Luffy as a Viking and stuff like that. There was this single sort of typographic thing that he created, and it wrote Viking with like a crown on top of it. But the crown wasn't central to the word Viking. It was central to the word like the king part of Vikings. And so it almost read as Viking or like 6 kings. And so I'm curious if at the end of ELBAF we're going to have 6 kings being crowned somehow. And what's interesting is, yes, the way that the Straw Hats were divided were like, Vivi, people who knew about the X on Alabasta, but it's also 6 of them, right? We had...
True.
And so I was wondering if those 6 may be playing a big role in the arc, like Chopper being called a king of something. I mean, Nami, we know that her early concept art had a battle axe, so maybe it would tie into Mjolnir. I don't know. Usopp has to play into it.
There's 3 of them already who are supposed to at one point to be some form of king. Sanji because he's a prince, Luffy become king of the pirate, and Zoro's nickname is literally King of Hell. So you might be right on it. Like they're gonna be different type of king. You know, king is a
Sniper
very
king.
loose statement. Sniper king, you see, sniper king for Usopp.
I mean,
Obviously,
Chopper
the
just
way
needs
he
a proper
got-
bounty as well.
Yeah, and the way he draws Nami in cover art with those always a form of a symbol of a crown on her head or something very like royalty like.
Yeah,
And the way that
so
Sanji
many.
always fawns over only a lot of royalty girls, and for some reason he had that thing with Nami since the get go. And I think at one point it was referring to Snow Queen or something. I think I might be wrong. So Chopper
That
as
was
well.
Usopp, yeah.
You know, there's also a Chopper. So yeah, definitely Chopper. And you can even say, what if his antler in his head is like the symbolism of a crown that hasn't been shown yet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I didn't think of that. That's a good call, man.
Just something to think
What I was
about.
gonna bring up too is Zoro's mother's name from the family tree that we got was Terra, which is the name for the Earth,
Mhm.
king of the Earth, and the son whose mother's name is Sora, Sky, king of the
Yeah.
sky, and Luffy's king of the seas.
Let's
Ooh,
go.
That's interesting.
Let's go.
Huge. Well, guys, I do want to wrap it up soonish. So if we had any closing thoughts before we do full proper outros or anything like that, any last things that you guys wanted to spit about the chapter?
Yeah. Luffy's gonna free Loki from his chains.
Hurting for Gurdon.
But when
That'll be
Luffy,
good.
the next time Luffy will hear the term Sun God, he'll say, "Yeah, but Loki's not here right now. You should. I think he was over there."
Oh my
I can't wait
goodness.
for him to not to think that actually Loki is the true Sun God, and you'll get tricked on the miss of the miss. I don't know, the lie propaganda. It'll be funny.
Yeah. I think that for me, one of my closing statements is gonna be that Hyper for one of the best animal companions in the series now. Hashtag hoot hoot. If you watch Group 2, you know.
Hoot hoot.
But, yeah. But yeah, Kuso, tell the folks where they can find you, what they can expect. I know you got some spice in the works right now, but tell them what. I put your name in the description and the title so they can go check you out. But
Oh, I think it's already there. That's awesome. Yeah, just find me on YouTube. I'm starting an Instagram as well. Why not? But have a new video coming out probably within a week or two, and it will be about how Dragon will be the king of the world. So tune in.
whoa, huge. And then yeah, like I've been your boy Vex. Y'all know me. Check out my channel, link in the description, and my Discord if you want to keep up with everything that I got going on. We do Group 2, the Scarlet Pirates every Tuesday. Dill is the first mate of that crew, and you can catch him and a whole bunch of the rest of our antics over there live every Tuesday, 7 p.m. CST. Super hype to continue on with that and then hop on with more Eternal Dawn streams. Anybody else got anything? I'll plug for Lucas. Make sure you go check out his Rambling Addiction. He just did one on Dawn to Dawn. The first 3 episodes. It's hype, so hype. He's got a lot of other things in the works, and Group 14, the Sakura Pirates on his channel, they just had their 8th session. It was like a 6-hour session. For them coming back from a break month, which is insane, absolute insanity and chaos ensued. 100% worth the watch. So go check out Straw Hat Lucas's channel as well, and then join the Eternal Dawn Discord. Link in the description if you want to be part of the discussion. Like we're spitting like this literally every single day. So, Kube, you want to send us off?
Yeah, and guys, see you all at the next sunrise.
Oh, that's beautiful.